From a tender age, Kachi believed the world had cheated him because each time he looked around his streets, he saw boys who used to borrow slippers from him now driving cars with tinted glass and pressing iPhones as if the phones were biscuits. And each time he asked them what they were doing, they would just smile and say, "Na hustle, my guy, na hustle." Yet, he knew very well that the only hustle they knew was how to sit in beer parlors from morning till night, ordering catfish and snapping pictures with big bottles of Hennessy. So, he wondered how on earth they were suddenly traveling to Dubai and throwing cash around at parties as if money was leaves. Kachi, on the other hand, was struggling because his landlord had given him two final warnings. His mother was in the village calling every morning to remind him that her drugs were finished, and his girlfriend Cynthia had packed her small bag and left his room saying, "I cannot be dating a man that his wallet is always on strike." The worst part was that she left him for a man who looked like her uncle's age mate because he was already promising her a trip to Zanzibar. Out of frustration, Kachi sat on his plastic chair and shouted at the ceiling, "God, why is poverty embarrassing me like this?" Now, that was when his old school friend Dare appeared again, like Destiny's errand boy. Dare had once been the class clown who could not even solve 2 plus 2 correctly, but now he was wearing expensive sneakers and talking through his nose as if his tongue had relocated abroad. He was in the neighborhood and decided to visit Kachi as it has been very long since they last saw. However, when Dare saw him, he squinted and laughed at him. "Guy, you still dey like this? Now wow, see your mates now with a ball." Kachi felt insulted because the way Dare looked him up and down was as if poverty had already rented a room in his life. He adjusted his shirt and wanted to clap back, but he swallowed the words when he saw the sneakers on Dare's feet, which were shining as if it had just been baptized in heaven, and the wristwatch on his hand blinking as if it wanted to speak English. For a moment, Kachi forgot his pride and leaned forward. "Dare, all these things you are enjoying, Seth, where are they coming from? Because me, I know you in secondary school now. Even Biro you used to borrow. Now see you, fresh haircuts, fine sneakers, money everywhere. My brother, I beg, show me way." Dare smiled slowly and gave that mischievous smile of someone that had gist but wanted you to beg small first. He tapped Kachi on the shoulder and whispered, "So you are ready?" Kachi nodded quickly. "My guy, I am tired of having an ATM card with insufficient balance. Just show me, please, even if it is cleaning gutters, I will do anything." Dare looked around, lowered his voice dramatically and then said, "See, to do the thing no be problem. Now whether you go get mine, keep am." Kachi blinked. "Which thing?" Dare frowned. "The quick road to money now. The thing where they make boys buy Benz overnight. You think say na POS business?" Kachi blinked, both confused and curious. "If it is not POS, then what is it? Don't keep me in suspense now." Dare leaned closer till Kachi could smell the mint gum in his mouth. "So do the thing no be problem, my brother. The real problem na to follow the instructions." Kachi burst out laughing, partly because he was nervous and partly because Dare was acting like a Nollywood actor in a village ritual scene. "Abeg, no dey yarn nonsense. Which instruction again? Na WAEC exam?" Dare shook his head and said, "You think it is a joke? Spirits no dey dash anybody free money. Na trader. He go give you one hand, collect two hands. But if you fit obey the rules, you fit enjoy small before he knock." Kachi leaned forward. His curiosity was now mixed with fear. "Which rules?" Dare began listing them out with a serious face, as if he was reading Constitution. "No laughter on Saturdays. No eating food cooked with palm oil. No answering anybody that calls your name after midnight. And no bathing in running water again." Kachi fell off his plastic chair laughing. "Hey, so ordinary laughing on Saturday can make a man poor? My brother, if na so now, I am rich already because wetin my laughter don do for me since. From today, no more laughing." Dare frowned. You still dey laugh abi? Na dis same laugh go hang you one day. You think it is easy? Me I dey talk from experience o. Kachi wiped his tears of laughter and shook his head, still giggling. He could not believe poverty had rules for escaping it that sounded like kindergarten punishments. Imagine telling a grown man not to laugh on Saturday when Arsenal is playing football. He told Dare, my guy, this your spirit na comedian o, because who go fit live without palm oil? You wan make I dey chop only white rice for life? Anyway, as far as say I go get the money, no wahala. The following week, Dare finally agreed to take Kachi to the place, and honestly, Kachi thought they were going to one fine office with air conditioner and leather chairs because of the way Dare had been forming packaging, but instead, the man took him deep into a bush path that looked like something out of a horror film. The road was narrow, mosquitoes were organizing choir practice on his ears, and the smell of wet soil was following them like a loyal dog. Kachi kept grumbling. So, this is where people collect millions? Ordinary goat track? If money dey here, then why EFCC never come build office inside here now? But Dare just told him to keep quiet and follow. After almost 30 minutes of trekking, they entered one small compound with mud walls and zinc roof that looked as if it was built by pensioners. Inside was the so-called Baba, a wrinkled old man with one eye half closed and the other eye shining like torchlights. He sat on a raffia mat, chewing kola nuts as if that was what had kept him alive since colonial days. The smell of incense and something that resembled burnt rats filled the whole hut, and Kachi nearly sneezed himself back to his village, but Dare pinched his shoulder and warned, respect yourself o. This man fit command thunder to strike you here. Baba cleared his throat and began to chant in a language that sounded like broken radio. He asked Kachi to bring certain items, a white cock, 7 coins, a mirror, and 1 wrapper. Kachi almost laughed again because he wondered if they were starting a fashion parade or a wedding ceremony. He whispered to Dare, so spirits no dey collect iPhone or sneakers, na mirror and chicken. If na so, poverty no get sense so. But Dare pinched him hard, warning him that one careless laughter could turn his destiny into suya. Kachi obeyed reluctantly, and the next day he brought everything. The ritual started as Baba rubbed white chalk on his forehead, sprinkled something that smelled like expired gin on his chest, and kept chanting, the road you seek is open, but the owner of the road is a trader. He gives with one hand, he collects with two. Kachi rolled his eyes and muttered under his breath, yes, we know, Spirit is a businessman, MTN of the other world. Then Baba listed the rules out for him. For the next 7 days after midnight, make sure you keep your mouth shut, no matter who calls you, even if na your papa ghosts. On Saturdays, no laughter must come out from your mouth, not even a smile. You must never eat food prepared with palm oil, and you must never again bathe inside running water. Kachi could not believe his ears. He frowned. So, if rain catch me for road unko, should I be walking permanently with an umbrella? Baba snapped his fingers and glared at him. Break it and you break yourself. The spirit is not your classmates. The ritual ended with Baba cutting a small mark on Kachi's wrist and smearing it with some red liquid that looked suspiciously like tomato paste but smelt worse. Kachi wanted to scream, but he swallowed it because Dare had warned him, if you shout, you pay double. On the way home, Kachi kept shaking his head and muttering to himself, so this is it. All these rules because of money. Spirit, you not try oh. Why can't you just give money without drama? Even bank no dey stress like this. But even as he joked, deep inside, he could already see himself tasting the sweetness of wealth. His imagination was running wild. He would own cars, attend parties, and girls would be begging him for transport fare. Poverty had made him humble for too long, so even these ridiculous conditions looked like a fair bargain. That night, as he lay on his bed, Kachi kept replaying the rules in his head. No laughter on Saturday, no palm oil, no answering midnight voices, no bathing in running water. He covered his mouth with his pillow and giggled. If not so, then I am already super rich. But let me just try and respect the spirit trader before he uses me to balance accounts. The following weeks after the ritual, Kachi's life turned upside down in a way that made even his shadow start respecting him. Because before the initiation, his phone was always silent like a graveyard. But suddenly, his phone started ringing from morning till night, with people calling him for business, for contracts, and for favors. Even wrong numbers were calling and apologizing politely, as if they didn't want to offend him. The same landlord that used to bang on his door every Monday morning was now greeting him with two hands, saying, "My son, God will continue to bless your hustle." The first shock came when a company that had once chased Kachi out of their office like a thief suddenly called to say they had reviewed his proposal and wanted him to supply them goods. Kachi almost fainted because the proposal had been sleeping under his bed, gathering dust for 2 years. He immediately closed the deal and cashed in big. But before he could finish shouting, "Glory!" another client appeared from nowhere and even agreed to pay him upfront. By now, money was rushing into his account as if it had been locked in traffic before and suddenly found clear express road. In no time, Kachi bought a clean second-hand car, tinted it, and started pressing horn like an ambulance on every small road. The same Cynthia, his girlfriend who had left him for a sugar-aged uncle, came crawling back using sweet voice on the phone. "Baby, you know it was temptation. I was confused, but my heart always remained with you." Kachi almost laughed that day, but Dari slapped him because it was a Saturday. It was when Dari reminded Kachi of the rules that he realized the real problem. It was almost impossible and tricky. How can a man not laugh on Saturday when life was full of comedy left and right? One Saturday morning, Arsenal was playing football and the goalkeeper mistakenly carried the ball inside his own net. Kachi forgot himself and almost wanted to laugh to death. But then he jumped up and covered his mouth with his hands as if he was trying to kill a mosquito. Kachi sat on the floor and held his head. So, like this now, because of one spirit, I cannot laugh at nonsense again. Kai, this money is too expensive. Oh. Unfortunately, that was not all because there was still the palm oil problem. Kachi had mingled with Yoruba people so much that his blood was now mixed with eforiro and egusi. So, telling him to avoid palm oil was like telling a fish to avoid water. One day, his neighbor was frying stew with palm oil. The aroma entered his room and his stomach started begging. But then, he remembered that Dari had warned him, "If you taste palm oil, now you and your village people go share coffin." Kachi cursed under his breath. "This spirit is wicked though. Which kind devil bans palm oil? Is it a weight loss program?" Left with no choice, he now substituted palm oil for vegetable oil or butter. But he cried whenever he saw someone eating palm oil because the food he was restricted to now tasted like punishment. The midnight rule also became a problem. Normally, nobody called Kachi in the midnight, but after the ritual, it seemed as if his village people suddenly remembered him. One night around 2 a.m., a small child in the compound started crying and calling, "Ogu Kachi! Ogu Kachi!" Kachi nearly answered before remembering the warning. He ran into the bathroom and stuffed tissue into his ears, whispering to himself, "Spirits will not use me for scapegoat though. If I answer this pikin now, they will say I broke covenants." The next morning, the child's mother asked him why he ignored her son, and Kachi just lied with a straight face. "Madam, at midnight, I don't answer when people call because of spiritual reasons." However, even with the rules, Kachi was bawling. Everywhere he went now, people were bowing, calling him boss and spraying him money at parties. But Kachi himself was living like a prisoner of comedy because each time somebody cracked a joke on Saturday, he would excuse himself and run to the toilet just to swallow the laughter. At one wedding, the MC made one terrible joke. The whole hall exploded in laughter and Kachi too wanted to laugh, forgetting himself. It was Dari who kicked him under the table and whispered, "Do you want to die in Tuxedo?" Kachi immediately forced himself into a fake cough, holding his chest and shouting, "Water, water!" And everyone thought he was actually choking on beer, not knowing he was fighting the spirit's silly instructions. The money was flowing, yes, but his peace of mind was disappearing. However, Kachi still told himself that if he could endure Saturday silence and palm oil fasting, maybe the spirits would pity him. And so he continued enjoying his street wealth until the day everything fell apart. It happened on a Saturday, of course, because village people knew how to pick the exact day you are not supposed to make mistake. Kachi had been trying hard all morning to keep himself busy so that nothing would tempt him. He switched off his television, locked his door, and even avoided scrolling through TikTok because he knew people online could make him laugh and spoil everything. But unfortunately, his downfall came from a very small matter: his neighbor's birthday party. At first, when they invited him, he said no, but then he remembered that people now saw him as the new big man on the street, and if he did not show up, they would say he was proud. So he dressed in his fine senator wear, wore perfume as if he was going for political rally, and marched there. The party was fun. The DJ was playing hits. Children were running around with balloons, and Kachi sat at the high table pretending to be busy with his phone while reminding himself, no laugh today, no matter what. But trouble is like akara, it always finds oil. The MC for the party, a short man with big stomach, started cracking jokes. At first, the jokes were dry and Kachi was relaxed. But suddenly, the MC pointed to one drunk uncle who was dancing offbeat in front of the cake, moving his waist like a broken ceiling fan, and the whole crowd burst into laughter. Kachi pressed his lips tight, but when the same man slipped and fell inside a cooler of jollof rice, Kachi could not hold it again. He exploded. He laughed so hard that tears ran down his eyes. He banged the table and he even clapped his hands, shouting, "Chai, this life no balance." So the laughter came freely, but almost immediately, he felt a strange heat crawl up from his stomach to his chest, like pepper soup boiling inside him. He froze on his seat, his mouth disappeared, and he began to sweat as if somebody had poured a bucket of hot water on him. He tried to breathe normally. I don't die. Did I just laugh? On Saturday? What have I done? That night, Kachi could not sleep. He kept twisting on his bed. He could hear voices whispering, "You broke it. You broke it." He dreamt of hands dragging his car keys away and of shadows carrying his checkbook and burning it in fire. When he woke up, his pillow was wet with sweat and his first thought was, has the spirit trader come to balance accounts? As expected, the very next day, the wahala began. His bank app refused to open. It kept showing error messages as if the network had relocated. He went to the bank and they told him his account was under investigation for fraud. Kachi shouted, "Fraud, K? Me that has only been collecting blessings?" They shrugged and told him to check back. As he drove home angrily, his Tokumbo car that he used to oppress the street suddenly coughed like an old man with asthma. Smoke started coming out from the bonnet and the car refused to start again. He had to push it by himself in front of small boys who were watching and laughing at him. "Oga Kachi, no be you dey spray money yesterday?" And from that day, everything started scattering. The contract he was hoping on got cancelled without an explanation. One client blocked his number and Cynthia, the girlfriend that had just returned to enjoy the soft life, quietly disappeared again. This time, she left a note on his table. "I cannot continue in this confusion. May God help you." Kachi sat in his room staring at the ceiling and holding his head. He muttered bitterly, "So, just because of one laugh on Saturday, everything has spoiled? The spirit is really wicked. The spirit does not like joy. Spirit wants man to live like stone. God, why did I not respect my poverty? Poverty was better than this wahala." By the third week after his Saturday laughter disaster, Kachi's life had entered full-blown confusion because money was leaving his hand faster than dry gin leaves a conductor's throat, and nothing was replacing it. The account that once received heavy credit alerts now only sent him debit alerts. His car was still parked like a useless furniture in front of his compound, and creditors had suddenly developed fresh energy. They were calling him from morning till night. Even people he didn't owe were now claiming he owed them something. His phone would ring, and when he answered the call, he would hear things like, "Oga Kachi, do you remember me? I borrowed you 5,000 naira in 2018. Kachi would scream, 2018? That was in Buhari's regime now. Who remembers that one? But they would insist. Indeed, poverty had found him again, but this time it came wearing military boots. In panic, Kachi ran back to Baba's hut in the bush, panting and shouting from the gates, "Baba, Baba, spirit has started oh, they have collected everything. Please help me repair it." But Baba just sat there calmly on his raffia mat, chewing kola nuts as if Kachi was disturbing his retirement. He looked at him with one sleepy eye and said, "Did I not tell you? Spirit is a trader. He gives one hand and collects two. You laughed on Saturday. Who sent you to laugh?" Kachi knelt down and rolled on the dusty floor. "Baba, please, I was not laughing at spirits now. I was laughing at one man that fell inside jollof rice. Please, beg spirits to pity me." Baba spat out the kola nut and said, "Spirit does not know pity. To repair this, you must pay heavier price. When a pot breaks, you don't patch it with saliva, you patch it with blood." Kachi froze and his mouth opened wide. "Blood? Baba, which blood are we talking about? Goats, chicken, or maybe mosquito? I can donate mosquito blood. Lagos has enough." But Baba shook his head like a disappointed teacher. "No, spirit now demands something bigger. It must be human blood." Kachi jumped up in shock. Baba, spirit is greedy oh. First, it banned my laughter. Then, it collected my money. Now, it wants blood. Which kind of MTN tariff plan is this? Even bank charges are not this wicked. But Baba was unmoved. If you want your wealth back, you must bring someone close. Someone spirit will value. Girlfriend, sibling, mother, choose one. Kachi staggered out of the hut like a drunk. His mind went to Cynthia, that girlfriend who had left him 2 times and returned 2 times. But immediately, his conscience slapped him. So, because of money, you will now turn to Cain? Then, his mind went to his poor mother in the village who was sick. And the thought alone made him start crying. God forbid, even poverty cannot make me use mama. Yet, the thought would not leave him. All through the night, he kept pacing in his room like a goat waiting for Christmas. He could not sleep. The fan was spinning above him, but sweat still poured from his body because the spirit's demand was ringing in his head. Blood, blood, blood. He tried to distract himself by watching comedy skits on YouTube, but when one comedian cracked a joke, he remembered it was Saturday again and his face turned serious immediately. He muttered bitterly, "See my life now. I cannot laugh. I cannot eat palm oil. I cannot answer my name at night. And now they want me to sacrifice somebody. Is this not a prison sentence?" To make matters worse, days later, Kachi heard that Dare, the same friend that introduced him to the ritual, had suddenly vanished from his streets. Rumors had it that Dare had broken his own covenant and was now roaming mad in another town, laughing uncontrollably every Saturday like hyena in a zoo. One neighbor swore he saw Dare at a motor park, wearing only boxer shorts, dancing and laughing while chasing buses. Kachi held his head and shouted, "Is this my future? God, is this how you want me to end?" He stopped picking calls and began to avoid people because he feared that one accidental laughter again would seal his doom completely. But poverty was squeezing his throat. Hunger was embarrassing him and the spirit was not done balancing accounts. By the time the spirit finished collecting small, small, Kachi's life had become a stage play for the whole neighborhood. Before, when he was spraying money and driving his tinted car, people used to gather and hail him with respect, calling him Odogu. But now, they were gathering again, well, this time to gossip, mock and laugh at his downfall. It started one morning when his car, that once made children shout, "Uncle, buy biscuits for us," each time he drove by, suddenly became a laughing stock because it had been parked for so long that goats were now using it as shade and hens were laying eggs under the bonnet. The mechanic he called finally opened it and shook his head saying, "Oga, this motor no get future again. Let's just sell it for iron condemn." The small boys in the streets burst into laughter shouting, "Iron condemn Odogu," and Kachi nearly chased them with a broom. Things went from bad to worse when his landlord, the same man who once carried his rent receipt like a trophy and bowed before him, stormed into his compound one afternoon and shouted, "Kachi, pay me my money. I don't care about your predicament. Leave my house if you cannot pay." Neighbors gathered with cheers as if it were free cinema. Someone even brought popcorn. A woman said loudly, "This is the same man that was forming big man last year. Now see him. Ordinary rent is chasing him." Kachi felt like the ground should swallow him, but the ground itself refused because even the ground did not want his problem. Unable to bear it anymore, Kachi marched back in anger to Baba's hut in broad daylight, screaming at the top of his voice, "Old man, you have scammed me now. You said spirits would bless me. Where is the blessing? Why has the spirit turned me into a laughing stock? I cannot bring blood. Is it by force?" Baba just sat there, fanning himself with a palm frond and shrugged. "Did I force you initially? Spirit is a trader. You broke the rule and you must pay the price." Unfortunately for Kachi, some young men from his streets had followed him secretly, curious to see what his secret was, and they heard everything. By evening, the gist had spread. So, it was not hustle after all, it was ritual money. That is why he could not laugh on Saturday. People started mocking him openly. Whenever he passed, they would hold their mouths and pretend to be serious face statues. Then they would burst out laughing once he turned. One small boy even ran up to him on a Saturday morning and shouted, "Uncle Kachi, say cheese." Then he rolled on the floor laughing. Kachi nearly fainted that day. Women in the market also joined the drama. One fish seller who had once begged him for a loan now pointed at him and said, "Na him be our Saturday comedian now. He cannot laugh again or his life will spoil." Imagine such a life. Customers roared with laughter and Kachi had to hide his face with his shirt's collar as he walked by. By this time, the disgrace had marinated well and now had an umami taste. Kachi was no longer the Odogu of the streets. He was now the example parents used when warning their children at night. Mothers would say, "If you don't read your book, you will end up like Kachi that cannot laugh on Saturday." In turn, the children would shiver and obey because in their minds, there was nothing scarier than being banned from laughter. And then, one Saturday morning, his landlord finally threw his load outside. Neighbors gathered to watch as Kachi's mattress, cushion chair, and plasma TV were dumped in the gutter. Someone pointed, "See the same chair he used to sit on while giving us attitude last year." Another one replied, "Yes, so now he can use it as keno." Kachi had no choice but to return to his mother's village, dragging his broken pride along with his load. But even there, peace refused to find him. His poor mother, the same woman he once considered sacrificing in his desperate thoughts, finally died after her sickness worsened, and Kachi cried bitterly at her graveside, beating his chest and wailing, "Mama, forgive me. Poverty made me useless, and the spirit finished me. I almost considered using you for spirit trade." And then a shocking twist came one morning when Kachi, who was still mourning, went to a nearby town to look for a job opportunity. As he arrived at the market square, he heard wild laughter that made his skin crawl. He turned and saw a madman dancing in the middle of the road, wearing only one shoe and a torn singlet, spinning around and clapping his hands. Kachi's heart stopped when he looked closer. It was Dare, his once sharp friend, the same one who lured him into the ritual path, was now roaming like a joker and laughing uncontrollably as if comedy had possessed his soul. People gathered around, throwing stones at Dare and chasing him away, shouting, "Go and laugh in the bush, you this madman that laughs every Saturday without stop." Kachi staggered back and held his head because suddenly he saw his own future clearly. If care was not taken, he too would end up on the streets laughing aimlessly, the same way he once laughed at the drunk man who fell into rice. That night, he could not sleep. He lay awake, sweating and muttering, "The devil is a trader indeed. He gave me small wealth with one hand, but he has collected everything with two hands. Poverty was a visitor, but I was impatient, and now shame is my landlord." He covered his face with his pillow, wishing he could laugh freely like children again, wishing he had never followed Dare into that bush path, and wishing he had endured poverty with dignity instead of rushing into prison disguised as prosperity. And so, every day, Kachi would come out to sit alone under the mango tree, watching children play and laugh loudly without care, while he held his own mouth tight with both hands, because he was afraid that even one small giggle on Saturday could finish the little life he had left. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. What lesson did you learn from the story? Kindly share the story out with your loved ones. Give the story a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye.